What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the African Five-A-Side podcast. My name is Maher Mizahi. I'm your host, and as always and ever, this podcast is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. Today, I'm in a kind of different location recording this. I'm actually at the airport in Tunis, the Carthage airport, and my flight is actually in about an hour's time, so my flight is going to start boarding very soon. As a result, this won't be the longest podcast, but I did want to get my thoughts on camera and on audio before I got on the plane. So as I told you, I'm in Tunis and I was at the match yesterday. We previewed on this channel the Ahly side of the final before the first leg. We didn't really get to do the Esperance side. The person that I wanted to speak to was feeling a little bit ill, and as a result, I couldn't really get a prediction in. But I promise you, everybody that was here that I spoke to can vouch for me. I always thought this match would finish 0-0, and it did end up finishing 0-0. So the prediction streak is still going strong. The reason why I'm in Tunis is actually, yes, for the match. I didn't come really as a journalist to report on what happened on the pitch. Rather, we're shooting a short film for Africa as a Country about being an away supporter in North Africa, or being an away supporter in the African Champions League. And that video, it's going to be like a short documentary, will be on the Africa as a Country YouTube channel. So you can find that in the description. Please go subscribe. I do think you guys are really going to enjoy the video on that channel. So coming into the match, as we already spoke about with Ahmed Asim, Ahly had a lot of injuries, and as the complete opposite for Esperance, they had almost no injuries. Esperance was undefeated at home in 19 matches. Ahly were undefeated through 20 Champions League matches, and if they got to 21, which they did, that would end up being a record. So congratulations to Ahly for that. So it was always going to be a tight match. Obviously, this is the final. Two top teams. And that's what really saw transpire onto the pitch. My overall thoughts, before we delve into the little details, is that I actually thought Ahly would have a little bit more of the ball. I thought Esperance would be a little more conservative and sit back in their shape a little more defensively, as they did with Petro de Luanda, as they did against Mamelodi Sundowns. But early on in the match especially, and that's probably because of the energy that they got from the supporters, Esperance de Tunis started very quickly. And if you ask me after the first 10 minutes, I'd say, Esperance might nick a goal and might actually win this match, because they started off very quickly. Ahly had an injury to Ali Ma'loul, their Tunisian left back, and he went off in the first, I think, 2 or 3 minutes. Esperance had a chance that came through a cross from Hussam Tra, who got behind the line, put in a cross, and Rodrigo Rodriguez misses the post really by a few centimeters. And eventually Ahly grew into the game. And I want to talk about Ahly because overall, I thought the defense played okay today, except when they were dealing with aerial balls. Because if you look at Esperance de Tunis' chances, almost all of them came from either set pieces, crosses, or long shots. Other than that, I thought Ahly's defense played quite well defensively. Going forward, I was really, really disappointed with the fullbacks. It's understandable for Fouad, who sort of replaced Ali Ma'loul as the left back. He's not really the starting left back. Ali Ma'loul is left back. And on the right side, you had Mohamed Hani, who, in my opinion, very solid defensively. I understand he has leadership qualities, but going forward, he's very, very limited. And that was on display several times during the match. The one part of Ahly's team that I was most disappointed with was the midfield. Akram Toufiq was great during the semifinals. I thought he was okay in this first leg of the final. But he's not the Akram Toufiq of before his injuries, in my opinion, in terms of how much ground he can cover, how much running he can do. Marwan Ati, I thought, had a decent match, pretty good match, but Imam Ashur, in my opinion, was the most disappointing player for Ahly. And I think now that I'm thinking about it for a while now, I mean, considering his reputation, considering the fact that he was sold to a European club for a good amount of money, and that he was supposed to come to the Egyptian national team and be that sort of creative midfielder that they needed to help out Mohamed Salah. He was supposed to do the same thing with Ahly. I haven't watched every Ahly match in the Egyptian Premier League, but overall, I've been kind of disappointed with Imam Ashur compared to his reputation. I think throughout this year, he hasn't really performed to the standard that I expected him to. As for the front line, in my opinion, nothing to write home about there. Percy Tau was probably his most timid, and I don't think he really justifies his salary anymore. If I was Ahly, I would try to probably go separate ways with him in the summer, and I think they will. Hussein Shahat was combative, but Didn't do too much except for one chance where he cut in and tried to shoot, but his shot was blocked. And Wissam Abu Ali, I mean, same thing. He was combative, but didn't do anything on his own that could help Ahly win the match. Esperance, on the other hand, I thought very, very good tactically. And Miguel Cardozo, we were sort of very impressed with him tactically versus Sundowns. And here again, you could see that, especially from where we were sitting, which was high up in Rades Stadium, you had a sort of bird's eye view, and you could see the shape of and players and how quickly they get back to their positions. If a player gets out of position for any odd reason, it gets right back into position, and how they move. They're very, very well drilled tactically, I'll say that. Even the way they play the ball out of defense, on goal kicks. You could see that Miguel Cardozo really brought a tactical touch, and I've been more increasingly impressed with him almost every single match I watch. So Esperance tactically very good, and you could see it from the stadium. The defensively very, very good as well. I thought Yassine Mariah, especially on the ball, his passing, very, very classy. At times we worried about the previous Yassine Mariah, like in 2018, 2019, making defensive mistakes. But overall, like Ahly, I think Esperance's back four are very, very complementary. So you would see like a Mariah or Tugai step out, for example, out of their position to take on an attacking player, and immediately the other center half covers, and they're talking to each other all the time. And this is a partnership that he has with Tugai now that's been going on for 2-3 years, and so that wasn't really a surprise. For me, the surprise, and again, this one is not really a surprise, but I was, how can I say this, impressed with the defensive midfielder, Esperance's defensive midfielder, Roger Aoulou. In my opinion, he was man of the match. And again, I didn't really get to watch the match, and I wasn't paying attention for all 90 minutes. I was mostly like filming supporters and working. But from what I saw, Roger Aoulou, in every single duel, he won them. In possession of the ball, always playing it forwards, and if not, always making sure he's very neat and tidy in possession. He's the perfect replacement for Foussani Koulibaly, who was at Esperance for 6-7 years and was probably one of the more underrated players in world football. But Roger Aoulou, 29 years old, steps right in that role, similar style of play, and does just as good of a job, if not a little bit better. And what he really does is he sets in that defensive midfield, and he lets the other midfielders, Hussam Tqa and Ghailan Shalali, get forward. And you saw Tqa, for example, put in that cross for Rodrigo Rodriguez in the first 2-3 minutes. That comes because he knows that behind him he has Roger Aoulou. The wingers for Esperance, I thought, were much better than the wingers for Ahly. Sass and Rasha were very, very good in all aspects. Defensively, offensively, dribbling, very combative. I have nothing to say, really. And I was almost a little bit surprised that Jan Sass was subbed out, even though it was in the 80th minute, maybe. I thought just leave him in the game for the entire time, because he can always produce that little bit of magic. Rodrigo, I thought, like Wissam Abu Ali, very combative, the Esperance striker, but he needs to finish his chances. That first header, he needs to at least get it on target. I understand he's going for the far corner, but if he gets it on target, that probably goes in, and Esperance have a very, very precious goal. So overall, I mean, it was a tightly contested match, but what else did we expect? It was always going to be like this, especially with the away goals rule. Esperance were comfortable. I think both sides were comfortable with the 0-0 draw. Esperance know that, look, we don't give up, an away goal. We trust our defensive capabilities. We've shown that we can go to places like Pretoria and get a result. So let's keep it at 0-0, and then who knows what happens in the next match in Cairo. Either it's 0-0 and we go to extra time again. Maybe we can nick an away goal, and then if it's 1-0 for us or 1-1, we go through. I think that's the mentality that Taraji had, and Ahly were also saying, like, you know what, let's not make any mistakes. Let's just make sure we at least draw this match. And in Cairo, I was talking to Ahly supporters. I said, when's the last time you guys lost a knockout match in the African Champions League? And they were thinking. Knockout match in Cairo in the African Champions League, and they couldn't even find one. Even with the use of Google and everything, they couldn't even find it. So the only way I can really see Esperance winning this title is if it's a draw, like a scoring draw, 1-1 or a 2-2 or something like that. And again, if this was the case, if there was no away goals rule, Ahly would have an absolutely massive advantage right now. But because there's the away goals rule, because Esperance have shown that they can go to places like Cairo and get a result, that's where I think that this is going to be a pretty tricky match. I still see it as a 50-50 chance, and I'll give a real full prediction before the second leg. But that's how I'm seeing it right now. But other than that, fantastic atmosphere as usual. Not quite the level of Mohammed V Stadium in Casablanca when I went to Wydad versus Ahly in 2022. But still just under. Very, very good, and the tifos were world class. I mean, the choreography, I should say. I got yelled at for saying tifo because apparently tifo is not proper in the world of ultras. The choreography from the Esperance supporters in support of the Palestinian cause it wasn't the most beautiful artistically that I've seen, in a while, but the message was just right at the right time in support of the Palestinian cause. It was intellectual. The personalities they had on their banner was, people like, Dr. Hassan Abu Sitte, the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, and so on and so forth. So anyways, we'll discuss this much more because I'm afraid that my flight is boarding. Just wanted to check in and give you my thoughts before the second leg. And this week, I promise you I'll do a much better job of previewing the second leg. And please go to the Africa as a Country YouTube channel because we're going to have a video dropping hopefully this week as well before the second leg. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the match. Let me know your thoughts and I'll speak soon. Peace.